So, welcome back to another episode of Life on Purpose. My name is Josh Hampton. I am one of two hosts, and we got Kevin Mahoney here. He is the other host.
That would be me, Kevin. Um, we're all together. We haven't been together like in months.
I know it's been a minute, and this is
I wasn't, I wasn't like sticking it to you. Like
no, you're good.
the way we
And
roll.
so this will be a first for us. We're recording virtually today. We got Adam Lyons, host of the Modern Meeting podcast. How are you doing today, Adam?
Good, Josh. Thanks for having me. How we
Good
doing,
man.
Kevin?
Good, real good.
Awesome. Awesome.
So, just a little background. Adam asked me to be a guest on his podcast at the NCPG conference in Columbus, Ohio. I was honored to be on there as a guest. Great experience, and so now in turn, Adam is on Life on Purpose. This is a show where we talk about lived experience. A lot of times that's in recovery or related to, but not always. Um, so, Adam, I'll just start out like tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, the lived experience that I have is I gambled compulsively from the age of 18 to 38. Um, I was one of those people that, for like the first 10 years of the 20, I kind of lived that double life. People knew that I gambled, but I didn't really let it affect anyone else. I was just hurting myself. And then the last 10 years, I mean, I was open and honest in the worst ways possible, not like we learn in recovery. I was open and honest about that I had a problem and I used it to my advantage to borrow money from people and to pull on people's heartstrings. And, those last 10 years was just chaos. Committed illegal acts to fund my gambling. I, uh, I lived in like 12 different cities, had 20 jobs, was hopping around, always looking for the next fresh start, trying to figure out why my life was, not progressing. And when at the end of the day, it was just about my gambling. I just needed to stop gambling. And it took me a long time, and it wasn't until, 20 years of pain, 20 years of just mayhem that I finally, I call it a spiritual awakening where, I was just done. I was just tired of being tired, tired of the lying, the cheating, the stealing, and I finally made up my mind and I went to a 12-step meeting in Austin, Texas. I live in Massachusetts. Don't ask me how I ended up in Texas, but like I said, I was bouncing around for 10 years. And I like to tell people that the meeting was on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. By 7:15, I had completed step one.
Mm.
I completely surrendered, and I thought the literature was written for me. I thought I was being punked. I couldn't believe it, and from that point forward, I haven't looked back. And day at a time, we're closing in on 3.5 years, and
Congratulations.
yeah, and 2 years into roughly 2 years into my recovery, I having a conversation with my sponsor, like, where's all the women? Where's all the young people? Like, I know gambling is exploding right now outside these doors. Like, what are we gonna do about it? We got to get people in here. Oh, well, they got to find their way in. Well, I don't accept that, and that's kind of what the modern meeting is all about. Where I just wanted to kind of, you know, bring the stories and bring the strength and the experience and the hope to the masses, and that's basically what I've been trying to do. And then, like in the 11th hour, as we were about to launch the podcast, I said, you know what, like let's get everybody on here. I want to talk to people of all addictions. It doesn't have to be just gambling because we have so many similarities. And some of the best recovery nuggets I've learned in 3.5 years has been from someone in a different fellowship. So,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
important to be open minded,
for sure.
and so I want to tell you, I've been trying to work through all what is it, 47 episodes y'all
Yeah,
have now? Yeah,
yep, yep,
so
yep.
I'm gonna work through all of them. It's been great so far. I went back, I listened to the first episode today, and I heard something you shared. You said there's healing in hearing someone else's story.
Mm,
So I'm paraphrasing, but
yeah,
that was big. That hit hard for me.
yeah. I mean, I first thank you for listening. That's awesome. But yeah, I'll just never forget that first night in Austin when you know someone who looks like a professional, normal, I'm using quotations, normal person. She's telling her story of how she overdrafted her debit card or how she wrote a blank, she bounced a check, and she's telling a story that I could have just plugged my name in, and I did the same thing. So it was that medicine in that moment, that power of connection, that knowing that I'm not alone. Like that's been the foundation of my recovery.
Adam, did you get any pushback from the 12-step community utilizing their format? You said,
Yeah, a little. So I would have started the modern meeting about a year in, but a couple people in the fellowship that I really respect and love, they told me like, easy there, grasshopper. Like you're doing a little 1 2 12. You know what I mean? Like let's take your time and let's. So they were almost looking out for me,
hmm,
rather than I don't know if they necessarily, but and that's kind of like, especially now after going to NCPG, like I'm having a I'm having a tough time internally a little bit as far as GA saved my life, but if GA can't evolve and GA can't grow with the rest of us, like I don't know how effective it's going to be for my recovery. You know what I mean? And so, but proud to say that those people 2 years ago that told me easy, easy. I mean, they've both been on the podcast. They love the podcast, and I think I'm kind of turn them a little bit because at the end of the day, like I said, GA saved my life, and I would never repeat anyone's stories in those rooms or whatever. But like the lessons that we learn in those rooms, we got to repeat it, right? Because it's too
Yeah.
powerful and it's it's medicine that there's people out here, they need it and they don't know where to get it, right? And so if we're not going to advertise where the GA meeting is, you got to let me do something, and that's what the podcast is trying to do.
hmm, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest misconceptions you feel like you had about recovery before you found that GA meeting where you found that identification and you said you felt like, the readings were written for you?
Yeah, great question. I think it started out, I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts, like 14,000 people. My graduating high school class is like 120 people. And I worked at a pizza house that was right across the street from an AA meeting. And I can remember, in high school being a ignorant punk that I was, we would make fun of those people and oh, losers, right? Like just oh, you got to go to AA. And then like just growing up and watching movies and TVs, and you see AA and you just like, it's just, those are degenerates, those are losers, those are people that are, and so driving to that GA meeting February 8th 2022, I kind of felt the same way. I mean, I didn't think these people were going to be losers, but I definitely thought I was going to walk into what I would see at the Atlantic City bus terminal at 5 a.m., right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't expect to walk in, and to my left, I see, two beautiful women in their 30s, and I see three guys younger than me, and I'm the schlubbiest looking person in the room, right? So, and then forget about the material part of it, but just then once you hear these people's stories inside these church basements, and just you see how the 12 steps and recovery in general has just given them this clear understanding of like what's important in life, right? And it's just like i I cannot, I cannot, like it's just to your original point, like the misconception that people have that like you're bad or it's negative if you're in these rooms. Like the people in these rooms and the people that work at Sunrise and the people that work in recovery, I'm sorry, I know I'm not supposed to compare, right? That's what my sponsors tells me all the time, you can't compare, but we're on the right track in life, and we went through a lot of can I swear on this? No.
I think
All the
because we're
time, more the
pre-recorded,
merrier.
you just be you. I think
Yep.
it's
Yeah, I
gonna
mean,
go on the radio, but there's time
no.
to
I
edit it
We
out,
went
I
through a
believe.
lot of stuff, and it's we came out on the other side, and there's a lot of people out there right now who are going through similar things we did, and they're gonna die going through those things without ever saying that they need help,
Yeah.
you
Do you
know.
have
And
a graphic
sometimes
with?
without ever knowing there's help
Sorry.
Mm,
available. Not, go
mm.
ahead, Kevin.
Do you have a graphic with your 12 steps on it? Is anything markedly different in the wording than the traditional 12 steps?
For GA.
Hmm.
So I'm not entirely sure. I know that like there's a few people in my group that go to other fellowships, and they say that AA and GA are super similar. They with especially with the steps, it's pretty much substituting alcohol for gambling.
Have you heard
From
of
what I
Mara?
understand, it was AA was the Godfather, and then there was GA before there was anything else.
Yeah,
Again,
GA
NA
GA
came
goes
after
back to
GA.
GA goes back to like 1954, I think, or 57.
Definitely doesn't get the publicity, but
No.
I didn't know that was around that long.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I interviewed someone on the podcast recently. Shout out to Charles. He grew up in like basically a mafia run neighborhood in Queens, New York back in the 60s, and he went to GA back in like 1980.
Well,
And and he told me like the place was packed, and it's just like so
Yeah.
odd that like in 1980 when gambling was basically illegal, it was packed, yet now it's everywhere. And we struggle to get, I mean, our meeting in Rhode Island, shout out to the Rumford Tuesday night meeting, is amazing. We always have 20 to 30 people, but there's some meetings throughout these states that they're lucky to get 5 or 10 people. And then there's
Yeah.
some like Josh, like you said, like you guys have what, 2 or 3 meetings in the whole state of North Carolina?
Yeah, I know. So Western North Carolina, there's no meetings here. I think Charlotte would be the closest location to Asheville.
Mm,
I spoke to a lady earlier today. She's heavily involved. She lives in Western North Carolina, and she hosts, national virtual GA meetings. But she was really like needing an in-person meeting.
yeah.
And virtual is great, right? But you get that face-to-face contact, especially for somebody who may be looking to find a sponsor. Not
Mm.
that you probably couldn't do that virtually, but face-to-face contact is huge.
No, and so when I first started on Tuesday nights in Austin, I was working in a poker room at the time, and I think it was like week 4, and it was the end of the meeting. We're all talking, and one of the guys is like, so I know you've read the back page of the yellow book by now, but you probably can't work in that poker room much longer if you're gonna do this. And I'm like, ugh, yeah, you're right. Because for 3 weeks I was still working in the poker room, and I was not betting because it was great money, and that was my job at the moment at the
Mhm.
time. But then so when I went back to Rhode Island, um, I was doing a Monday night meeting on Zoom, and to your point, yeah, it just wasn't the same. And thank God I found the meetings I found in Rhode Island. But when it comes to GA and in-person meetings, I think that anyone who says those 3 words, like I need help from gambling, it stinks that there's kind of GA is so hit or miss where especially at NCPG, I heard a lot of people that had bad experiences at their first GA meeting and they never went back. If someone could experience what it's like to go to a positive, awesome, supportive GA meeting, like I feel like almost everybody would see the value in that and keep going. Because even though GA is one of many options as far as recovery right now, I do think that it is everyone if everyone could experience what I experienced in those first few weeks, the warmth that I got, the people looking at me in the eyes and saying congratulations. I'm like, for what? What? I'm a degenerate, right? They're like, you made it here, man. Like you're here, like like that. I'm getting chills to this day. I'm probably gonna get chills the rest of my life when I say that, and that's all from the fellowship.
Yeah, that's huge. What do you think? What do you think it was that was such a negative experience? Sometimes I know I've got experience in 12 step. I worked a 12-step program of recovery, and I do see folks come in, and a lot of the old timers in the rooms, they got so much knowledge,
Hmm.
but I'm not. I want to say too much, but I think sometimes they can be really abrasive,
Mm.
and sometimes that works for folks, sometimes it doesn't. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but I got a laundry list of reasons. Unfortunately, I mean, number one, to your point, yeah, like it's, the older demographic, and it's, when that 22-year-old kid, walks down those church basement steps, and he's the youngest person by 50 years, and everyone who shares is talking about horse tracks or going out to Vegas, like,
Hmm.
and he's addicted to online sports betting or addicted to iGaming. There's zero
Yeah.
connection there, right? There's zero connection. Like, he might feel like they're some nice grandpa energy, but like there's nothing that's gonna be like, yes, that's me, right? Like the power of that connection, the story.
Yeah.
So that's number one. I think, you know, people have a real issue with the big guy upstairs, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of people aren't ready to embrace that higher power thing. I was one of them. For the first 6 months of my recovery, the fellowship was my higher power, right? It wasn't until I really kind of opened up and things happened in my life, and now the big guy's back in my life, Um, I think that unfortunately, like for women, a lot of women, especially I talked to a bunch at the NCPG, like, you know, from anything from just feeling a little like singled out to being propositioned, unfortunately, right? Like, so there's a lot of things that we could do, and I think what it comes down to is like, so I'm the secretary of my Tuesday night meeting, and
Yeah.
we set the tone where we have an amazing combination of older people, younger people, sports bettors, poker players, gambler, table games, and we all take care of each other. We take care of the meeting, and like none of that stuff ever flies in our meeting, right? So it's just about making sure that the right people are in those leadership positions and they kind of set the tone. But yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure. But I think it's conversations like this and getting it out there that's what's going to lead to some change.
I think you've got a really good point to the identification piece. Somebody comes in and it's just the horse tracks and, the poker rooms, and they're sitting here putting their life savings leveraged on crypto or doing the iGaming. That lack of identification. And I've felt it even in support. I've got some retirement stuff going on now, but I've never been in a position when I was gambling that I had, a Roth IRA that I could, draw out of and completely destroy. And I supported a gentleman early on in my role as problem gambling coordinator, and his thing was day trading. I'd never day traded, and I felt completely unprepared. And I'm sure he probably felt it as well. There wasn't,
Mm.
that identification. I ended up warm transferring to somebody who I felt could better support him. But even in that situation, that identification is huge.
No, for sure. And I think too, like that's the thing about gambling, well, for me at least, like unfortunately, from a recovery standpoint, there's nothing that someone could throw at me that I don't have some experience with, including day trading, unfortunately. The whole AMC GameStop thing, I was a part of that. That was towards
Oh
the end of
yeah,
my 20 years. Oh, what a mess that was. Um, but no, and I think, kudos to you and Sunrise to put him in the position, put that person in the position with someone that actually knew, because that's the other thing that we're learning, or that I'm learning, is that, when people call these hotlines, you know, half the time they're talking to someone who's never set foot in a casino, right? Or they're talking to someone that, is just is just answering the phone, asking a couple questions off of a script, and then referring them to a clinician that then doesn't have any lived experience. Now,
yeah,
I'm not one of these lived experience guys that lives and dies by lived experience. I think there's some amazing people in the space that are saving lives and they don't have lived experience. But if you don't have lived experience, I think you need to do some research, and you need to talk to a lot of people, and you need to fill up that tool belt with as much knowledge as you can so you can make that connection.
So
yeah.
therapeutically, what works with problem gambling, like DBT or CBT, or what's the evidence based go to?
S-
I'm just curious. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, so first off, I don't know what either of those things are.
Okay.
But I will tell you, I just spoke to someone recently. Her name is Kitty Martz. She's out of Oregon, and she's the founder of the Lived Experience Collective. And she had a five-pronged approach where, it's a lot of I'm gonna butcher it, but I want to say it's like cognitive behavioral
Mhm.
therapy combined with community and combined with, you know, you know, basically, what they say is, I'm going to butcher this too, because that's the thing about me in the modern meeting. Like I'm just learning like the science behind it, and I just know what I went through. But like for sure, my gambling is a product of something deep down that I still haven't even figured out, right? And so I think if you go for the approach of a community-based meeting combined with doing that therapy and really digging in, trying to figure out those child whatever was going on when you were growing up, that seems to be like, I don't want to say it's like the recipe,
Mm.
but it's really, I think, like the most successful is to combine the two. But like, there's smart recovery now, and then there's like Josh was saying, there's all these Zoom meetings where you could be all over the world, and you
Mm.
can find a community that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, and it's funny because I have not. I mean, I talked to a therapist like 20 years ago, and then I talked to a therapist again like 2015 for like 10 minutes, and it was not good. For me, it has been nothing but GA and having a really great sponsor, and just doing the podcast and basically like doing my step 4 through the podcast, retelling my story at the beginning of each episode. But and when someone tells me like, how are you able to do it? It's like, listen, I was out for 20 years.
Mm.
Okay. Like that's why I have so much sympathy for, these people that come into these rooms and they keep returning to gambling, or they're white knuckling it. And then, I get to know them a little bit. It's like, listen, don't beat yourself up. You've only been gambling for 3 years. Like I did it for 20. Okay. You're ahead of me, right? Like take some pride in that. Like you're 25, right? Like, and the sad reality of that is that if you talk to me, forget about 25. If you talk to me on February 1st, 2022, 6 days before I entered, 7 days before I entered that room, I thought there was no way I could go the rest of my life without doing some form of gambling,
Huh.
right? So it's like you just never know. You never know what's going to be that catalyst that gets someone on that road.
Um, so you were talking about resharing your story at the beginning of every episode. Now, is this in chronological order? I know the ones I've listened to. So starting from episode one, it's a beginning piece of your story. Then as you're moving through the episodes, it's just
Yeah, so
progressing.
so episode 1, is that is that horn on my end or you guys' end? Do you guys hear that or no?
I don't hear a horn.
Okay, there's like a car horn outside. Glad you
Oh,
guys don't hear. All right, we'll cut that, Jody. But
yeah.
so so episode 1 is actually the final night of my gambling when I hit my rock bottom, my
Okay.
my last rock bottom in Oklahoma. That's where I drove half drunk from Austin to the middle of Oklahoma to the nearest casino because I hadn't set foot in a casino in 6 months, and that's when I spent 36 hours losing everything, borrowing from people I barely knew. And that was January 30th, 2022, and 7 days later I was in a meeting. And then after that, episode 2, we go back to the beginning. We go back to when I'm 9 years old, um, playing craps with my uncle Rick, who God rest his soul, he was a compulsive gambler. He died at 60. He hit $100,000 on a scratch ticket twice, and he
Wow.
died with nothing, leaving his family nothing.
Yeah.
So it's for me. I do think that you know I don't know whether you want to call it a disease or whatever it is, but for me it was definitely genetic. I think this was going to happen no matter what. It's just a matter of if I was going to end up finding help. But yeah, like I think because I think like storytelling for me, it's what helped me the most. Like that's kind of what I wanted. That was kind of the premise. So yeah, we're going in chronological order and we're taking our time, obviously, because we're 47 episodes in and I think we're at
Yeah.
2018. Um, but yeah, I get good feedback on it because it's something that I write out and then I read, so it's kind of audio book-ish. But
I was
I
going to
just
ask you that too, because it
yeah,
sounds really great. I was going to ask you
thank
just
you,
for
thank you.
personal reference, like if that's a tactic
Yeah,
you.
no, and the funny thing is too, Josh, is that so I'm getting a little better now because I have a day job now, so I can't be up till 4 in the morning editing and publishing the episode. But almost the last thing I do before I hit publish on an episode is I write the cold opens. I write the story.
Okay.
So like everything's done. The interview's done. The that being said at the end is done. Everything's done, and then I do my cold open. I kind of throughout the week I'll just be driving or I'll be walking and I'll be like talking into my phone like bullet points, and then I kind of just put it
Yeah.
together. Um, but yeah, I just for me, I think one of the best feedback, like one of the best compliments I've gotten from the podcast so far is like people tell me like they're like, dude, it's like I'm there with you, like when you tell your story, and like so I love that because that's what I want. Like
Yeah.
I want them to smell that casino. I want them to hear that Keno slot going off after I hit it. And the lady came over to give me a hand pay, and I'm sitting there stone faced, like I don't care, because at that point I was numb. I didn't even care if I won or lost, you know.
Has there so throughout all this storytelling, 47 weeks worth of it, has there been a time where either recalling, those experiences or even trying to put it down, for the show that it's just been really tough? Like maybe
Yeah,
reliving that?
I mean, plenty of times. I think man, honestly, there's some stuff that I can't even tell yet because I haven't really made amends to those people, like some really really messed up stuff that honestly like it would be great for the podcast like but you know uh I don't know if that person or those people like I don't think they don't want it they might not want to be a part of it because it was obviously awful.
Right.
They don't know what I did, and so right now like that's tough for sure. And then I think when I two things. Number one, like whenever I think of moments where I affected my parents, those have been tough. Because they were the ones that what you learn in GA very early on is the worst thing you can do for a compulsive gambler is give them a bailout. And
Yep.
my dad gave me I don't even 20, 30 bailouts. And at the time he thought he was doing the right thing because I always paid him back. But
Hmm.
so when that comes up in my story, that's tough. And then the second thing that just happened the other day, actually, I was going through my old Venmo transactions, and it's coming up in the story actually. Like April 2019, I borrowed like over $10,000 from like six friends, and I could tell just based on the caption, like each lie that I told them. Right, like one of them
Yeah.
I said it was for the rent, the other I said it was for this, it was for that. And then, I do a little research, come to find out, guess where I was? I was in Vegas at the end of April. And so I borrowed money to get there. I borrowed money while I was there. And then I borrowed money when I got home to cover the overdrafts and the losses. And so that was tough to go back and just because, you know, oftentimes as a gambler, actually, you talked about in your story where, you put your hand in your pocket and you thought you'd have something there after
Yeah.
the fish tables and there was
Yeah. The
nothing.
fish day was it.
And the same thing with me. It's like when I started adding up those Venmos, and I'm like, gee, oh my God, like how much does someone need? How much? How did I really need $12,000 over 3 days? You know what I mean? Like just oh, it's tough. But yeah, I mean that's part of the journey.
Kevin, you usually have the heavy hitting questions. I've been waiting on one.
Oh,
Oh,
you're on
you're on
mute.
mute. That's why you're muted. Well,
That doesn't help.
there he is.
There you go.
Okay, you're back.
Sorry.
Nice
There's
to have you join us again.
construction going on outside and it's
Oh,
loud.
I got you.
I'm afraid they're going to interject. No, I'm just trying to compare processes in terms. I don't know much about although I was affected by it greatly by my dad. I think I shoved it under the rug because it just pissed me off so much that I didn't even, I don't want to deal with him. I don't even want to deal with his memory.
Mm.
What he did was not unforgivable, but when I try to wrap my head around the enormity of ruining the entire life savings, everything, took everything. And this was years ago, probably 20 years. And I still let go. I still shake my head.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you, how many 401ks I emptied. One of the things that I did that broke my dad's heart was they had a trailer up in Maine that they sold, and my dad said, my dad was a firefighter, 35 years. My parents, we grew up middle class. We didn't, we had things, but my dad worked hard. He worked two jobs. He's always doing details, always working overtime. And now they're living a good life. They're playing pickleball in Rhode Island, and they got a little bit of money. But my dad, when they sold that trailer, he said to me and my brother, "Here's $20,000 for each of you. It's gonna go towards a house or towards sorry, this gets me a little emotional. He said put it towards a house or put it towards your wedding, or this is something that don't take it out for anything.
Yeah.
And what did I do? Like I chipped away at that, and mine was gone like within a year, all from gambling. And it wasn't just like me taking the money out. It was me coming to him with crocodile tears saying that loan shark is going to break my legs if I don't give him 5K, which was actually true.
Mm.
I had borrowed money from a bookie, and then the bookie charged me 3 points that I was never going to be able to pay back. But so what's my dad going to do, right? In that spot, of course. And then, so yeah, I mean, a year into it, that money's gone. And just to put myself in my dad's shoes, like, I'm sure when he put that money aside for me, he thought of my wedding or he thought of my first house. And then just to know that it all went to gambling debt, like it just breaks my heart to this day. And that was in 2016, right? So I still had 6 years of chaos. I didn't, you know, that's the thing about a gambler is like, for me at least, you know, when I'm trying to get the money, I will lie, cheat, steal. I will do anything, right? And then when I lose, there's the guilt and the shame. I'm gonna stop. I'm so sorry. I mean, I can't tell you how many like holidays that I got disowned from, and then me being the ham that I am, like I would like. I remember I wrote a handwritten letter to my parents, and then I drove it. I lived like an hour and a half away from the time. I drove it to their house and put it in their mailbox, and it was me blubbering. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go get help. This and that. Pa, 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 pa. And I did nothing because I woke up the next morning and there's that itch, right? There, then
Yeah.
the disease makes the justifications. Like, listen, your dad has plenty of money. You're gonna win that back. You'll pay him back. You'll give him a good Christmas gift this year, right? All kinds of stuff like that. But
I
yeah.
think that the guilt and the shame for me really, I almost used it as justification for me to continue using and to continue gambling because I had messed up so much, and just had, felt almost worthless. And like, it's like the only thing I had was to either go get high or to go gamble and get that dopamine hit. And most often it was both of those things together. We talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that really, it did. It contributed to that vicious cycle for me.
Yeah,
So
like
the more bullshit I do, the more shame and guilt I'd have, and the more shame and guilt I had, the more I would use and do more bullshit to continue that process.
yeah, and at least for me, like, for the first 17, 18 years, every time I went to the casino, I was excited, right? This was the trip. This is when I was going to win big. And then while I'm playing, if I won, I'd get happy. The last 2 years, I was numb. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I felt trapped. I felt like I couldn't stop. And I had some big hits. But that's the thing. At that point, by year 19, year 20, I'm down so much money
Mm.
that I could hit for tens of thousands. And even though I might have some, first of all, it's all going back eventually, right? But secondly, that doesn't put a dent in what I've lost in those 20 years. And people ask me all the time, how much do you think you lost? I honestly don't know, but it's north of a 500,000, I bet, over 20
Huh.
years. Easy. If I take the money that I won and then lost plus, oh, I mean, yeah, yeah.
Do, do gamers find their way to GA? I mean, I'm talking like Game Boy, an addiction to gaming itself, the electronic games. Is that tied up with you guys at all?
So for my meetings, no. I mean, I think the most recent type of gambler that we've seen
Mhm.
would be someone who's, playing slots on their phone,
Mm,
playing blackjack on their phone. Um, but as far as all, I mean, a lot of this stuff I just found out about a few weeks ago. Like all this, I mean, you can play solitaire for money now. It's just insanity. You know what I mean? Um, but no,
The
I mean,
gamification of everything.
for the most part right now, and this is something that I struggle with, like kind of as someone who has a podcast who's putting his blood, sweat, and tears in the podcast. I've seen a lot of things on TikTok where it's like, "Hi, I'm Joe Smith. I'm 10 days away from gambling. Follow me on my journey." And they have like tens of thousands of followers and a million likes.
mm,
And who knows if A, it's even real, and
mm.
B, what are they doing besides making a TikTok? Like, are they going to be so that for me, a part of me feels like the old man on the lawn, and like maybe that is a form of recovery.
Mhm.
But the other part of me thinks that like that is very irresponsible and detrimental, and it's going to make young people think that like, if I get a problem, I'm just going to like, I'll just make a TikTok and I'll monetize it that way. And then, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, whether it's 1920 or 2220, for the rest of eternity, if someone needs help from an addiction, you can't do it by yourself and you can't do it on TikTok. I don't care. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways, right? But you can't do it alone. I think we can all agree on that.
Hey, I want to back up just a little bit. So when we first started talking, you mentioned so with GA meetings, you had guys that were there back in the '80s and say the rooms were packed,
Mm,
and this is when gambling was not legalized.
hmm
And once it became legal, you don't see folks in there like that. And I wonder, is there more stigma around gambling disorder and problem gambling because it's legal and it's normalized and it's put out there like this is a thing that people can do responsibly and this is recreation and like it's not something that's illegal that's just automatically thought of as detrimental. It's just this fun thing that everybody does and they don't have problems with, so that the folks that do have the serious problems and are seeing all this harmful impact don't seek out help and hide it more. Does it
I
make? Am
mean,
I making sense there? I feel like,
yes, yes,
yeah,
and it's a great question, and I think it's I think if we knew the answer to that, like we'd have a lot more people in these rooms. Like
yeah,
you might be right. I don't know. But what I do know is that it takes a while for someone to hit rock bottom, right? Like you're gonna have the rich guy who has the midlife crisis and empties his 401k in a month. But for all of those people, you have a bunch of people that start young, make little bets. They're using allowance money, or they're using their paycheck they got from working at the restaurant as a busboy, and so there's not a lot of damage there, right? It's going to progress. It's going to take time. So it's like that's why we're saying that like let's check back in 5 years and see what these rooms look like, right? Because people think that like we're in the eye of the storm. We haven't even hit. That storm is still far away. It's coming. It is coming. Gambling, it's going to be an epidemic. It is coming, but it's going to take some time, right? It's going to take some time for all these credit cards to get maxed out. It's going to take some time for people to up their bets. It's going to take some time for that person who just dabbles in sports betting to then dabble over to the casino side of the mobile and start playing craps laying in bed, right? I mean, oh my God, if this stuff was available in 2022, like I don't even know if I'd be here. Because how do you expect someone who has an unhealthy relationship with gambling to be able to abstain if they can play craps in their underwear? I mean,
yeah.
Mm.
it's crazy,
Or
you
some of the
know?
process, maybe it's getting dressed up and it's like you're going out and you're getting ready to go to the casino and there's a process addiction for substance use like that with, I won't go into graphic detail about it, but there's stuff with cards and lines and stuff. It's like,
Sure. No, Kevin, I was just as addicted to the VIP lounges and the casino host. Oh, hello, Mr. Lyons. Like I got off on that stuff. I really did. Like that was part of the reason why I ended up moving to Vegas in 2016, because I self-excluded myself from Foxwoods and Mohegan in Connecticut. and I was missing. I was still gambling. I was still playing poker. I was still playing Keno. I was still playing scratch tickets. Still going to a casino occasionally, but didn't have a hotel. I was missing that. I was missing the whole package, right? So yeah, I mean that's definitely part of it. And I think also too, it's like to Josh's point, it's so normalized now. Like 4 years ago, if
Horrible.
you went on ESPN or NFL, no gambling. They're suspending people left and right for
Right.
gambling.
Yeah.
Now you cannot turn on a sports channel without the lines being on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a Red Sox game on Nesson. They're giving you the live lines of what you can bet in the middle of the game.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how did we get here that quick? How did we go from nothing to shoving it down your throat 24/7?
I hate sports shows that are just about gambling. I'm going like,
Ugh.
and I love sports. I mean, I watch mostly anything. It just depends on, what's the sport. But I have a quick follow-up question about related to gender. Do men and women gamble on different things? Ish.
I would say, I would say, not really, because I think that, I would say like if you're looking at like poker, okay, like yeah, I would say it's like 80% men play poker, but a ton of women play poker. I mean, they have events at the World Series of Poker that are just women events, and they get
Uh-huh.
tens of thousands of people. Um, I think that I think it's all pretty fluid at this point. Like I can remember like working in a casino, and you walk through that floor, you see everybody, you see male, female, young, old, they're all on the slot machines, they're all playing blackjack, they're all at the craps table high-fiving each other, so I think that no, I don't think it really, I don't think it makes a difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, I had read I don't know where I read. There's an article somewhere that maybe men and women could potentially be gambling for different reasons. Um, and I don't know if there's like more research out on this since I've read this article because it's been about a year and a half. But it was saying like primarily men gamble to be in the action, and a lot of times women gamble for emotional regulation. So I don't who know I don't know if
No,
that's
I
facts or
think that
not.
I would love to see a study on that, because I do think that like if we're talking about, who's escaping and who's doing it just to get away, I think it would be more women. I think men, yeah, to your point, it's the action, it's the competitiveness, you know,
Testosterone.
it's the
Ego plays a lot of role.
oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, like I think, and I try to think about like for me, like what was my, we always talk about in these rooms, like, you might go the rest of your life in recovery and you don't know why, right? And that's not necessarily important. Like, but we all want to know, like, why did I do it? Why did I go out there? Why did I stay out there? And for me, there's 20 questions that we answer in Gamblers Anonymous. You answer yes or no. If you answer yes to more than seven, you're most likely, a compulsive gambler. I answered yes to 18. I never considered self-destruction, and I never lost sleep. I slept like a
Yeah.
baby. I slept like a baby no matter what. Everything else I answered yes to. But the one that I answer yes to, that, and it hits me. It's number 18, and it says, did arguments, frustrations, or loneliness trigger within inside you an urge to gamble? And that's the closest thing that I can get to as far as the why.
Yes.
Because early on in my recovery, when I would have that little tiff with someone, or I would get frustrated about something, I could feel myself. I could literally feel like, ooh, okay, this is the moment where I would say F it and go to the casino.
Mm.
Interesting, right? So like, so for me, yeah, I think I was a big escape guy, and I was a big like, okay, yeah, we'll deal with that later. I'm gonna go cure whatever jam I'm in right now. Let's go run up a craps roll, and then we'll solve all that, right? And
Yeah.
and 19 out of 20 times we just made it 10 times worse.
Yeah, for sure. I did in similar situations. Well, Adam, look, we got 5 minutes left, and I definitely want to give you time if you got anything you want to plug or any shout outs you want to throw in here or just anything you want to leave us with.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, thank you to you and Kevin and Sunrise. This has been amazing. Obviously, I'm here because of the Modern Meeting podcast. It's available everywhere that you would get your podcasts. We got a YouTube channel. We're trying to build up the social media. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. At Modern Meeting and at Modern Meeting Pod on TikTok. Um, yeah, and I just, I appreciate, like the way that the way that I look at recovery and honestly the way that the podcast is going to be like it's ever since I got back from Columbus, like everything's changing for me. Like
Yeah.
it's meeting people like Josh. It's opening up my network. It's opening up my, it's expanding my, I would always say like, oh, there's more than one way to recover, but I didn't
Yeah.
know, right? Now I'm learning, right? I'm talking to people way smarter than me. And I love it. And I just want to keep getting all this knowledge, getting all this experience, and then bringing it to the Modern Meeting audience and bringing it to my meeting in Rhode Island, and just hoping that just I know everyone's been telling me since day one I can't get anyone to surrender. They got to do it themselves. But we're gonna put as much content out there as possible to inspire people to do that.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's huge. Thanks for all you're doing, Adam.
Appreciate it.
thank you guys.
Come see us.
Definitely,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Come to Asheville.
definitely.
Hey, with Josh. He has no chaos in his life right now at all. Just as a child.
Me? Oh yeah, I don't have any. I've got little tiny chaos in my
Sleep.
life.
Let's sleep.
Yeah,
All
it's getting
right.
better.
Adam,
Little.
thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you
Buddy.
guys.
Mhm.
All right,
All right.
thanks, Adam.
All right, Brent. Later, Gators.
See ya.
Uh-huh.